Hello, Virgo. Welcome to Dove and Serpent Tarot. My name is Paul. If Virgo is your sun, moon, or rising sign, this is your tarot card reading. Remember to hit the like button, leave a comment. Consider subscribing to the channel, especially if this reading resonates with you. If there is anything you would like me to pray over, or meditate upon, or send positive energy toward, please let me know. Now, this is a general reading, so try to be open and receptive to whatever may come through during our time together. I am merely the messenger, and I ask you to connect directly with each of these cards and use your own intuition to take you beyond the details that I provide. And remember, Virgo, that the most important part of any tarot reading is you. And we start with the Lover's card. I feel like you're a very forgiving person, you know? I feel that you tend to be able to mend fences very well with people. You know, I think people know that that they come to you and you have an ability to sort of fix things. You know, I don't know if maybe you're like a bit of a matchmaker, but I think that you're able to see deeply into situations and understand what is important, and you're able to bring people together. Okay, you're somebody that is you're sort of focused on unity rather than division. Okay, the Lover's card is a card of exactly that, unity. Bringing things together, right? Choosing things, saying yes to things. Yeah, I think you have the ability to heal the relationships, you know, to mend fences, to reconcile, to bring people and things back together, to fix things. Yeah, and I think people come to you for that. I think the people in your life, they appreciate that about you. Okay, and sometimes forgiveness and reconciliation or mending fences, we may be kind of stubborn about it. You know, we may resist that. Say, I don't want to forgive them. I don't want to mend the fence. I don't want to reconcile, because then that's me admitting that I was wrong or something, right? But no, sometimes it's just realizing that whatever we're fighting about is just not important. Okay, or even sometimes that, you know, forgiveness doesn't have to mean that we've mended the fence that we have. And, you know, think of a fence, so it's still kind of, we're separated from each other, right? So we fixed the fence there, right? And so it could be that forgiveness and that sort of healing is meant to allow the sort of the moving on. Yeah. So let's put this card into a little bit of context. Let's see what's going on here with you. We have a 10 of Swords. We have a 4 of Swords. A 2 of Wands, okay. 8 of Swords, a lot of air energy here, right? I can see that the fence really was in disrepair, okay. And you have a 6 of Swords, a lot of air energy. A lot of air energy. We have a Princess of Wands, a 9 of Cups. We have a 7 of Pentacles, and we have an Emperor energy. Spirit is highlighting your forgiving nature, okay, that you have this ability to sort of mend wounds that others can't. I feel like there's a strained relationship for sure that's kind of like asking for some sort of closure here. There's some kind of an open wound in the fence, you know? And I think that it needs some kind of closure here. I also wonder if kind of healing yourself and having this sort of forgiving energy is going to be really the important step for you, okay? That the healing process is going to really require that you sort of forgive. Not in order to enable the other person or to excuse their behavior or condone their behavior, but forgiving them for your own healing. Okay? that allowing yourself to heal from this is kind of part of that letting go, or that forgiveness, or that closure. Okay? Let's select our mystery card, bonus card, confirmation card. This is a random card from the Smith-Waite Tarot. This is the factor infinite and unknown. We're going to set this down right over here with Jimbo, the Lizard King, right there on top. And just because we can do anything doesn't mean we're going to look at that card until the very end of the reading. It will tie everything together. It will give us the confirmation that we need at the end. Okay? If at any moment during this message you feel like you might know what that card might be, put your prediction in the comment section down beneath the video. Okay. Now, as we look around the room here, 1, 2 major arcana energies. That's it. We've got the card of unity and the card of autonomy. Okay? And so really it comes down to you reclaiming your power, reclaiming your individuality. It's you taking charge, taking control, and kind of you realizing that you get to decide how this relationship goes forward, if it does at all. Okay? There is something that is kind of on the table now. It's either the option for a complete ending of something, right, with that Ten of Swords, or it's an opportunity for you to move past whatever this issue is and get out of this birdcage, free yourself from something. Okay. I think that there is kind of a heavy sort of confrontation going on here. There's something here that's going to ask you if you're either going to hold on to this relationship or release it. Okay. Now we've got fire back here, fire over here. And really fire with our Emperor too. We have fire, 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 and the three points of our triangle here, which is very interesting. Okay, to have fire in these points is kind of showing that that this is something that's within your ability to control. Okay, that this is some kind of a strained relationship, some kind of an old wound that's being kind of picked at again. Okay, there's some kind of confrontation. Something is really stressing out your mind. There's maybe a decision that's kind of on the table here, but it's within your domain. Okay, especially with that Two of Wands, that it's kind of you get to make the decision here. I think that's something Spirit really wants you to realize, is that you can choose the path forward. So we've got your fire, we've got water here in the environment, in your relationship we've got water, okay? The good water, 9 of Cups, super abundance, happiness, true and real happiness here. And of course we have our air, and a little bit of earth, okay? I think that this is really your thought process about a particular relationship in your life, whether or not forgiving, letting it go, and hanging on to the relationship and putting it past you and saying, let's just be done, let's water under the bridge, let's, and keeping the union, is that going to lead to happiness for you? Or are you going to be happier if you forgive and all that kind of stuff and heal, but say, I don't want to be around you anymore? Okay? That's kind of the choice that needs to be made on your end. You can't control what this other person does. You can't control how they react to you. But I feel like it's on the ball's in your court, so to speak. Whether or not you strive for union or a reconciliation, or to really kind of mend the relationship, or if you allow it to sort of dissolve and you heal yourself and you still forgive them, but you kind of go your own way. Yeah. The 10 of Swords is that card of a dissolution. And when it's combined with our Lover's card, it may it may be a situation that is really, really testing this bond or this union that you have. And it may be that, something that you are committed to and intensely loyal toward is kind of dissolving. Now, I guess the choice is whether you're going to try to resuscitate this or if you're saying it's DOA, The Ten of Swords is very often a situation that can't be revived. Okay? At this point, it's just the old bones. There's nothing really left there of any nourishment. Kind of like there's nothing worth saving. Do you know what I mean? And so I feel like that's kind of where you're trying to figure out if that's true or not. When you're looking at your relationship now and you're thinking, is there anything left there? Is there any juice left to squeeze out of that? Or is it done? Okay. And I think that you want it to still have life. I think that you're hoping that it does. But to be honest with you, the Ten of Swords is kind of something that needs to be transcended. Okay. And, this may seem like a very sorrowful kind of group of cards here. We're saved by our Emperor and our Nine of Cups, because what this is really saying is that if you were to kind of trust your instinct here, you're going to experience happiness. You're going to find the joy and the beauty and the bliss of life. I don't know that it's going to be here. In other words, it seems as if your movement forward from this is going to lead to more happiness than trying to stay here and squeeze, blood from a turnip here. That Ten of Swords is dry and desiccated. There is no water left here at all. Okay. And the Ten of Swords is also the card of the birdcage, right? So it's kind of like saying, are you going to stay locked in on something that is no longer nourishing to you? Now, this doesn't have to be a romantic relationship. Let me just point that out. It could be, feels like maybe, this could be your commitment or your loyalty to your job or to a best friend or even to a family member. Could be your attachment to the house you're living in or whatever, an investment that you've made. Well, it is an investment of time, effort, energy, money, space. It doesn't have to be of a romantic nature just because it's the Lover's card, okay? It could be, but it doesn't need to be. But whatever this situation is, we can just use the example like this is the job. It's a job that's just not giving you anything anymore. Maybe it's still paying you, but maybe not enough. There aren't, with the Ten of Swords here, there really aren't a lot of reasons to stay. But yet you're still kind of searching for the reasons anyway. Yeah, that old Tracy Chapman song, Under the surface, the Four of Swords, to me, this feels like a real need inside of you, something that your soul kind of knows already, but hasn't yet accepted. Okay. This is buried beneath the noise, and to me, this feels like a card of acceptance, a card of forgiveness, a card of kind of acknowledging that, okay, this situation is what it is. There's no fixing something that's beyond fixing, right? There's just kind of it's almost, I think it's really that kind of a lesson in acceptance. This is the card of forgiveness, yeah. This is the card of kind of like quieting our mind down so that we can perceive the truth. So I feel like there's something about this that you don't really want to admit or you don't want to believe. I think deep down, This could be the job, this could be the family thing, this could be the friend, so-called, this could be the romantic situation. It could be your, I don't know, it could be something about school, it could be your jujitsu class, you know. It's kind of just that realization that we've been clinging to something, we've been trying to revive something here. It's almost a Weekend at Bernie's kind of vibe, if you know what I mean. Okay, that we want to believe something so bad that we're kind of just like carrying it with us when deep down it seems like you know. Okay, that this kind of, like a forgiveness, a closure, a letting go is going to clear the path for this Nine of Cups happiness. This is the only water energy we have, and this is the most important thing on the table today. Happiness. You deserve to be happy. Okay? Hit the like button if you agree with that statement. You deserve to be happy. You deserve to find all this nourishing water. This is flowing water that feeds you, okay? Nourishes you, heals you, restores you. This is the kind of, and it's in the position of your relationships too, by the way. You deserve this kind of relationship, but what you have now, what is blocking you from getting the union that you want is this old thing. This is like the dry, you know, the fish bones, the fish carcass, you know, in the cartoons where the cat will just kind of eat a fish and it's just the bones. This is just the bones. There's no meat left. There's nothing here of any kind of sustenance. Okay? But this is blocking you now from getting the real happiness, from getting what is nourishing for you. Okay. This is also the sun in Gemini. This is a Gemini power card, the Lover's card, right? So it feels between these two cards that there is something very important that you need to realize about this relationship. Okay? Spirit's kind of trying to say you need to really look at what this is. Because this by itself, this is heck yes, I'm in, all in, 1000% yes. The Spirit's saying it's maybe not what you thought it was. It may be not what you expected. Maybe you thought you would be happy. Okay? And I think the sort of difficult realization here is that there isn't happiness here. And I don't think it's from lack of trying. I think with the Two of Wands back here, you tried, you fought, you pushed hard, you tried to force things to be happy, you know, but despite all of your efforts, you still got your Ten of Swords. Through no fault of your own. I think that is a really big issue here too, especially with the Seven of Pentacles in this position. You don't want to feel like a failure, like you did something wrong, like you could have saved it, you could have fixed it. Maybe this is your business, maybe this is the job, maybe this is the relationship or the friendship or whatever it is. You did everything you could to make this work. Some things are just out of your control. The Two of Wands is a lesson in control. It's saying, in life, generally, you do as much as you can, you do the best job that you can, you try to control as many of the variables as possible, okay? You try to predict and control and be responsible for as much as you can. The rest is in God's hands. It's in somebody else's purview, it's not yours. And since you have this card here, it's really confirming that you did everything that you possibly could to make it work, to try to get the happiness flowing, to try to bring that water energy in. Maybe you tried to make your business successful. Maybe you tried to like the job, you know. You tried to really make it feel right, and you tried to give it a chance and to do your best, and it still feels like a dry hole, like a dry, desiccated, lifeless kind of thing. It's not your fault. Okay? It's not your fault. I think the Four of Swords here is you realizing that you need to accept this and heal from this. Release any guilt. Maybe it's already over. Okay? And maybe this is kind of something that's being churned up again for you. Maybe it is something from the past that, hasn't quite healed yet. Maybe this whole thing happened, months ago, years ago. And maybe something is kind of stirring it up now so that you have a chance to realize that there was nothing you could have done, that you did everything that you could. Why are you still holding on to this? I'm kind of starting to feel like this isn't happening presently. This was the past. And Spirit is bringing this back into your life now so that you can let go of the guilt, let go of the sense of responsibility, let go of this idea that, that you could have prevented it or you could have changed the outcome. Because it feels like here there's something that's already over. But you still are in need of this closure, forgiveness, and acceptance. I think in order for you to heal, you have to let go of this. But I see the Eight of Swords up top here. You're making it too complex. I think what you're doing is you're giving yourself way too much credit here. You're giving yourself way too much influence by believing that you could have done something else or that it was your fault that it ended the way it did or whatever, that it didn't work out or that it wasn't fruitful or abundant or lucrative. Giving yourself way too much power, I think you did everything you could, but you can't control everything. You couldn't have changed the outcome here. And this is a card of a lot of analysis, a lot of overthinking. And I think that you dwelling, this is rumination. It's the figure eight, right? We keep looping back in on the same issues. I think this is something from your past that you just keep thinking about. You keep reliving it. You keep going over it again and again and again. God, what could I have done differently? Why did it turn out that way? What did I do wrong, etc.? And letting go of that is going to free up your energy to really get happy. Okay? So this, I think, is, this is kind of like an unexpected healing that's taking place. Because right now, it's sort of festering. You're ruminating on it, and that's preventing you. This Eight of Swords is tying you up in a bunch of wires, tying up your spirit, tying up your sort of free, curious and very, very happy, very energetic energy. You free yourself from this situation and you're going to dance. You're going to be free. You're going to be twirling in the street, the sort of a whirling dervish here. You're going to really feel a release from this. You're kind of releasing yourself of the responsibility or even forgiving yourself for whatever you thought you could have done differently or whatever you maybe didn't do or etc. But by not having that sense of guilt or feeling that responsibility, going from all of these swords to a Six of Swords, to me this is now harmony, this is peace, this is understanding. This is kind of like you get it now. You see what actually happened. You see the facts as facts, that you're not confused or tangled up or so attached. You're not ruminating or dwelling on this anymore. You're able to see it clearly. And I think really understand that understand the past, understand the series of events that happened, but also to kind of understand how it's all part of a larger plan for you, for your life, To understand that your life has more to the story, that your story didn't end there. Okay, but as long as we're dwelling on that and we're stuck there, it's kind of the feeling, we're stuck. We're tied up. This is kind of a helpless feeling because we're tied up in these wires of thoughts, you know. Your story didn't end when that relationship ended. Now, maybe this wasn't a breakup. Maybe this was the loss of a job. Maybe it was a loved one that passed into spirit. Maybe it was, you know, a friendship that has, you know, that sort of, there was a break in that friendship. Maybe it was a family thing. I don't know. Whatever it was. Your story didn't end when that relationship or that situation ended. And so the Six of Swords becomes like the realization that there's more to my story than that. There's more narrative here. There's still a bigger plan for you in your life. Let me know in the comments how this is landing for you. Okay, hit the like button, subscribe to the channel. You are the author of your own story, and it's time to get back to the manuscript. It's time to get back to the typewriter, you know, and figure out what comes next. It's time to free yourself from this, and I think that this is the mind really now understanding, seeing the harmony in everything that happened, kind of understanding that, wow, this seems very confusing and very like, just can't wrap our head around it all the way. I feel like there's a reason why this is no longer in your life, whatever this union was. Again, it doesn't have to be romantic. Okay? And you can let me know the specifics if you want to share that with the community. Leave a comment. We're a very supportive community here, and really a big shout out to everybody in the community that supports other people and prays for other people and tries to uplift other people, especially when we get readings like this where we need to be supportive of each other. Okay, so big shout out to everybody out there that is supportive. Okay, so give me a big love in the comments. Okay, let's bring some of that supportive positivity here. So the Six of Swords, I think, is the kind of the realization, the dawning of that understanding that, like, okay, I can see now, I can see what happened, I can see the truth. Okay, the Six of Swords, the 6 is the number of the sun, and that is that clarity. You can see the bigger picture now. Yeah, and we're going to talk about the path of the serpent. So I think this process, okay, dealing with this over here, is now freeing you. The cards are jumping all over the place. Is freeing you to step into your Princess of Wands energy. This is very upbeat. This is like an up-tempo number. This is dancing in the street. You know, this is like shouting around and just twirling around and leaping and laughing and saying, I'm free, I'm free, I'm free. Okay? This is real joy and excitement. This is a real spark, you know, and it's very, very different than what we see over here. This is, you know, it may be very active mentally and you know, it has this kind of force to it with the Mars and Aries, 2 of Wands, but it doesn't feel very chipper over here, right? But now, with especially these two, now it feels like you are dancing and skipping forward into a much happier life. Just being free, just having the Princess of Wands as your general energy is kind of saying, like, you're ready to go out there and explore. You're ready, you're curious, you're hungry. You want to go and experience new and exciting things in life. You don't feel tied down or anchored or chained or trapped in anything. You've released yourself, you've freed yourself, you know. And so I think that this is that initial joy and the leaping laughter. Okay, ready for everything. We're just excited to get out there and do new things and meet new people. Okay, and I think that it's giving you that opportunity now to really find what is meant for you, to find your true happiness in life. Okay, your super abundance. This is abundance on the physical, financial, mental, emotional, and spiritual creative planes. You deserve to be fulfilled. You deserve to pursue your happiness and follow your bliss. These two cards together are doing exactly that. following your bliss. Okay? There's now a clear path to your super abundance. And I think the real whisper of your soul here is just forgiveness. Acceptance, forgiveness, letting go. You do not need to be trapped in this. Whether this is happening now or this is from years ago, it doesn't matter. But the idea here is that you didn't cause it, you couldn't have prevented it, you couldn't have saved it, and you don't deserve to just stay here and sort of cling to that even after the life is long gone. Okay. And so the Nine of Cups is true bliss and happiness, a growing and expanding. This is the dream that keeps on dreaming. This is the life that keeps on living, the happiness that keeps on happening. It's Jupiter in Pisces. It's more and more and more of the good things in life. More and more and more. This is more and more confusion. This is more and more worry, more and more doubt. Okay. Yeah. So there's really a strong Gemini reference here. Maybe I'd watch the Gemini reading if I were you. And of course, we have Jupiter in Libra here. It's kind of saying that, look, what you're stuck in over here is really preventing you from connecting with the right people in your life. Okay? Your mind, your mental bandwidth is so consumed by this situation that you're missing a lot of connections. Now you're expanding those connections. Jupiter in Pisces. You're letting your heart free. You're letting yourself, connect. You're letting yourself heal. You're letting yourself develop new relationships and find new paths to prosperity. And you're able to really, what this is multiplying abundance. That's one of the great things about the nines, is that it multiplies. Okay? The 9 is kind of one of the most selfish numbers, right? It's kind of like you can multiply 9 by any number, and then of course you add the digits and it's 9 again. So it really is that kind of, it's a function, it's a verb. This is a happiness multiplier. And I think that you are eager, you are ready, your soul is on fire. You're ready to get out there and dance. It's like you're finally letting yourself go to the club again. And it's gonna, your joy and your happiness and your dream is gonna multiply. Love in your life is gonna multiply. Real abundance. Okay? So this is really good. Tell me in the comments you're ready for this. You're a magic maker. Say yes in the comments. Hit the like button. Okay? And subscribe. Join the family here if this message is resonating with your soul. It's time to get out there and dance again. Okay? The 7 of Pentacles is in the position of your fear, worry, concern. Of course, it's failure. It's a fear of failure. It's kind of still that thing that says, I remember what this was like. I don't want to get another thing like this. Okay? But the idea here is that now you realize that some things in life are not going to grow past a certain point. You do not have to cling to them and stay there and linger in those places. In other words, Spirit's saying if this is your business, or let's say this was like, you went and you had a ball game or something and you lost. You went bowling and you lost. And then you're staying in the bowling alley and you're just kind of going over it again and again and again in your head. Everyone else has gone home. The bowling alley is shutting down. But you're still there like, gosh, what did I do? How did that happen? And, but now it feels like, yeah, you're going to get back out there. You're going to go bowling again. You're going to win some, you're going to lose some. The difference is that when you lose some, you're going to say, okay, fine, I lost. It's whatever. It happens. I'll learn a lesson. I'll move on quickly. You don't have to linger in this place anymore. It's almost like you're learning how to fail better. That sounds weird, right? But there's an art to failing. There's an art to things not working out. First of all, I want to point out, this doesn't mean failure. It doesn't mean that you suck at everything or anything, okay? What it means is that in certain relationships, in certain situations, certain goals or like competitions or, you know, your bowling, games of bowling or whatever, and especially in business, especially in any kind of a sport, but in relationships, sometimes they just won't grow past a certain point. Through no fault of yours, through no fault of the other person, it's kind of like that's where the two of you were meant to stop. And that's what this card is. It's not like, oh, it's just such a disaster and you ruined it. No, it's kind of like things progress to a certain point and then it's just like that's as far as they were meant to go. And that's okay. So you are learning how to deal with that, okay, in a way that doesn't take up so much time, especially, and basically it's proportionate to the amount of time in the past that this happened. Was this yesterday? Okay, fine. You're pretty quick at forgiving and moving on. Was this like 10 years ago? Because now it says like, okay, if this was 10 years ago, then you got to get better at it. You got to get better at dealing with those kinds of little f failures, the ones that we want to learn from. You fall down, it wasn't meant to be, whatever you tell yourself, wasn't meant to be, it wasn't part of the plan, it wasn't written in the stars. I got to get up, dust myself off. What did I learn from the situation? Okay, let's get back into the game. Okay, this is jujitsu. You get thrown down on the mat sometimes. Over here is kind of saying like you've been down on the mat for like half an hour and everybody's like, okay, like, are you getting back up or what are we doing here, you know? And of course over here, you're leaping back up. You're leaping back up with fire because you're saying, I'm ready. I want to keep going. The only way to get happiness is to learn how to deal with loss, learn how to deal with failure in a way that it doesn't slow you down so much. Okay? When you get a situation like this, it may feel like this is terrible, this is devastating. Okay? And it would be easy to linger here, to allow this to become a real, like, heavy darkness, right? It's Saturn. It's a Saturn energy. And so it is, darkness. It's heavy. It's a lead weight. It's a pressure on the chest. It's somebody with their being pushed down. It's like it's hard to get back up. Okay? But we learn. We learn how to get back up even in situations like this. By taking responsibility for what I have done, my behavior, the things that were within my control, and I take ownership of that. Everything else wasn't up to me. Maybe there was water on the mat and you slipped. Okay? That's not my fault. I'm not looking for blame, but I'm just going to forgive. It's okay, fine. I'm getting back up. Let's go again. If this is a relationship, that to believe and to acknowledge and recognize that that person was meant to be in your life for a short period of time, longer or shorter, but that, your paths may have intersected for a time, but then maybe they're diverging again. And that's okay. Some people are meant to be in your life permanently. Some people are meant to be just a short visit. Okay? And that's the Seven of Wands. Not everything is meant to stick forever. It's not always going to be a so-called win. But looking at life like wins and losses, okay, may not be the right way to look at the Seven of Pentacles right now. Maybe looking at this was as big as it was meant to grow. We think of planting some tomato plants, right? Plant all these seeds in the ground. Some plants are going to be really tall. Some are just going to be kind of short. That's just how it grows. That particular seed just wasn't meant to grow past a certain point. There's nothing wrong with it. But that was its spiritual DNA. Okay? And I think that in this situation, that's what you're kind of learning, is that, look, there's a plan for everything. Every relationship that you have You don't know if it's meant to be permanent or temporary. You don't know if it's meant to grow into kind of, long-term, continuous sort of happiness, a permanent thing, and just, kind of infinite prosperity, or when is it going to stop growing? My mom used to say that to me when I was a kid and I started getting taller. She's like, are you ever going to stop growing? And I said, I don't know. I mean, at some point, I guess. I don't know. Whatever my DNA says, I guess, is how tall I'm going to be. I'm not very tall. I'm like 5. I was 5'10". I feel like I'm 5'9" now. I feel like I lost an inch somewhere. I don't know. I'm not that old. But you understand the 7 of Pentacles. Okay. And I think the Emperor here is that strength, is that fortification. Yeah. And I think the Emperor is, we think of the Emperor as being a very strong kind of, well, we have Mars in Aries, right? And so this is kind of like a very severe, very disciplined, looking for blame. Someone's always responsible for something. And so it's almost like we need mercy. What is the best kind of quality of an emperor? Compassion. Because the emperor has the power to destroy everybody. Right? It would be easy to do that. Compassion and mercy. That's what creates a good emperor, because that's something that's not so common, I guess. It's not the first instinct. We don't need more severity. You don't need to be so hard on yourself. What you need is to show compassion for yourself, compassion for whoever else is involved. Show mercy here and free yourself from that, okay? You don't want to multiply the difficulty, the pain, or the hardship. You want to multiply the blessings, multiply the abundance, multiply the love. Yeah, so every card has light and shadow. Okay, and the shadow side of the Emperor is, a tyrant. Always looking for blame. Being so hard on yourself, Mars, right? The severity of Mars. The punishment of Mars, right? Punishing yourself, punishing others, blaming yourself, blaming others. You don't need more of that. You need more, instead of the Mars energy, you need more Jupiter energy. You need more forgiveness. You need more gentleness. You need more mercy, right? Mars is severity. Jupiter is mercy. And the Emperor can wield both. You can be harsh and cruel, or you can be compassionate. And compassion really shows your power. Your forgiveness, that shows your strength. Not how severe you can be, or how much punishment you can dish out to yourself or others, right? And so I think that's a very important lesson for our Emperor. Let's look at the mystery card. I know this is getting kind of to be a long reading here. I want this to be a card of healing. I want a 4 of Cups. Maybe even an Empress, showing that healing, merciful side of the Emperor, perhaps. Maybe the Wheel of Fortune, the pure Jupiter energy. If you have a prediction, Magic Maker, put it in the comments. Let's see. Yeah, the Wheel of Fortune. Pure Jupiter energy. And so we have the martial energy here, right? Which is kind of back here. This is the Mars in Aries. This is Aries, Mars in Aries, right? All that severity. But then we have the hints. We have the clues here in Jupiter energy over here. Okay, the generosity, the mercy, the forgiveness, the compassion. And the Wheel of Fortune is kind of like you realizing that, look, everything happens when it's supposed to happen. And this is also now a confirmation of that lesson between your control, what you can influence, what you can actually do and control in your life, and everything else. These two really are the lesson of control versus acceptance. Give me the power to change the things I can sort of the ability to accept the things that I can't change. The serenity, right? I think this is a little bit of that serenity. The 6, okay? Realize that some things are out of your control. Sometimes the wheel just turns the way it turns. And as those larger cycles of life that you can't predict, because let's say everybody is a star. You're a star, I'm a star, everybody else is a star. Everybody has their own orbit. We can't, as individual stars, I can't see everybody's orbit. I can't see where your path is taking you. I just know that sometimes your path and my paths cross, and we do a little dance together. Maybe for a long time, maybe we're going to be in this binary star dance for the rest of our starry lives, right? But then you go out in a different direction, or I swing out in a different direction. It's like, oh, okay. Our paths are taking us in other directions now. Because that's what this card is. It's kind of your cosmic trajectory, but the realization that everything has a cosmic trajectory. And we can't pretend to know the divine plan. You're getting a glimpse of it. You're having the realization that says, okay, there must be a divine plan. And whatever this is just must not be meant to be in my life right now. It was meant to grow to a certain level, and that was it. Okay? So we're learning to accept those things that we can't change. This is a card of change. This is a card that says the universe is going to change how it wants to change. It's got its own timetable. It's got its own trajectory. This is the cosmic wristwatch. It's Spirit's timepiece. And we can't argue with that. Okay? Spirit does not need our approval to change anything about life. And, doesn't even need our participation. Okay, we could refuse to participate, and the other stars in the universe will continue on their orbits, and sometimes a star will come by me, and I'll wave to it, and it'll go by again, okay? Don't know if it's coming back. Maybe it will, maybe it won't. If it does, it does. If it doesn't, that's fine too. So we enter into these combinations with people, places, and things, and we may say, I want this to last forever. And we'll do everything we can to try to make it last forever. But if it doesn't, we kind of have to let it go. Let it go and not be too severe with ourselves thinking that we could have done something else. Okay. What we can do, though, is an extended reading. We'll do an I Ching hexagram. We'll do some oracle cards. There's a link up top here. There's a link in the video description here. New readings for Virgo Mondays and Thursdays. Be sure to watch both readings. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't yet. Leave a comment and let me know where in the world you are watching from. I want you to know that you are the most important part of Dove and Serpent Tarot. I thank you and I love you. And we are all in this together.